love always desires to give itself, to share itself. And God is love. So much of our Advent story is the story of our God who wishes, who desires, who longs to give himself to us. It's the story of creation. It's the story of redemption, of the love poured out from our God. But this time of Advent is also the telling of the stories that might spark, rekindle the longing in our own hearts. Love is gift, but it's also longing. And I know sometimes we think of these as two kind of separate things, and they're both aspects of love. It's not that. That they're the two faces of one reality, which is love. This desire, this longing, and this gift, this self-emptying, they're both the same. And love is only present with them both. Anytime that all we have is longing and desire, it's not love. And anytime all we have is self-gift and emptying, it's not love. And we're invited in these Advent days into a reflection that will rekindle especially the longing that becomes part of our love in this relationship with God. We retell the stories that might spark that longing. Very recently, I was invited to a wonderful, intimate dinner celebrating a married couple's 25th anniversary. And I had already felt myself very honored to be invited to this intimate setting. But as the conversations began, it became clear that those around the table were invited because we were the ones that they, as a couple, believed were most instrumental in their successful and loving 25 years of marriage. And that made it so much more of an honor to be seated at their table. And the conversations were lively and fast, and most of them centered on how they met and what were the circumstances and what did the people around them think of their meeting, and like all of the great love stories that parents share with their friends and with their children. And many of these things, to be honest, were completely new to me. And so I learned a lot about them, but I realized that that's not why they were telling the stories. These stories were not designed to bring new information to those at the table. Many of those at the table nodded understandingly as the conversations went on, added their own pieces to the conversation. But the purpose of the conversation was to rekindle the longing, to keep alive the fire of desire in their lives, so that love wouldn't just become the giving of themselves to each other, the sacrifice, the self-gift, that it would also be love, which is desire. And we don't have to wait 25 years. Each year in Advent, we return to these stories that would invite us into the longing and the desire, that relationship with God, who also desires us and gives himself to us and pours himself out for us as he desires and longs for our response. That in creation, the rocks can't do this, and even the animals who glory in God's life can't respond to his love as he desires. But in making us, God made us capable of responding in love to his desires, and that love, which is not only self-gift, also, but not only, because it's also desire. And we're invited in these Advent days into a relationship with God and 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 we're invited to explore the longings of our heart, to explore our desires. One year, if you remember, we asked the question regularly. We recognized in Jesus' teachings and questions the question, what do you want? What do you want? And Advent is the time that we're given to renew our want, to renew our desire, our longing for the kingdom, for the love of our God. And in these Advent days, may we spend a bit of time, whether that's quiet and peaceful as a mother awaiting the birth of her child, or if it's extravagant and loud as a desert in which a prophet cries out and the steppe is showered in rains that bring the blooms and life that love represents. However this Advent strikes us, we're invited to spend a little bit of time with our desires, with our stories, with our longings, inviting us to renew the love of our life, so that in that love, in that desire and gift, we might come closer to the kingdom that is being offered